Hello, my lovelies! I am excited to dive into today's topic because it's one that's near and dear to my heart. Why? Because when I learned to understand personalities and love languages, it showed me not only how people show kindness differently, but how it can be misinterpreted and cause big time hurt feelings and even cost relationships when we don't understand each other. So let's get into that. Kindness is defined by Merriam-Webster as a sympathetic or helpful nature, of a forbearing nature, gentle, arising from or characterized by sympathy or forbearance, of a kind to give pleasure or relief. Now, there's a certain personality type that we all traditionally think of as that type of person. But today, I want to explore how each personality type embodies kindness, especially when they're in balance, and how kindness shows up for each of them. We'll unravel the mysteries behind how each personality type shows kindness in their own unique, wonderful, and sometimes quirky ways, and how others might misinterpret their kindness, and how that can affect everyone in the process. For those who are new to the podcast, when I talk about personalities, I use the DISC personality model of behavior and refer to people as D or driven, I or inspired, S or supportive, and C or cautious. And we're going to talk about how kindness shows up for each one of those. And one important thing that we do need to remember is that we often talk about being in balance and out of balance in terms of personality, because that definitely affects how people act and react. So let's get to it. For the D personality, these people are movers and shakers and will never be the ones to climb down in the pit of despair with you. Why? Because they're action takers, not the type to sit in the muck for any longer than they need to. And trust me, the amount of tolerance they have for sitting in the muck is minuscule. They're not ones to mull things over for a long time. They're solution oriented. And for them, giving you a solution to get through whatever you're going through is truly their way of showing love and kindness, because they're all about solving the problem and moving on. The faster they can give you a solution, the kinder that is to them. Is that a problem when the I personality wants to talk it out and maybe be a little dramatic? Or when the S person wants someone to validate their hurt feelings? Or when the C person wants to look at all the ways to address the problem and not accept a single answer? Certainly can be. But when the D personality perceives a problem, they lean in and they want to solve things as quickly as possible because they're outgoing and they're fast paced. They love a good brainstorming or solution finding session. And that doesn't mean they're unkind. To them, being direct and straightforward in finding a solution to your problem is the kindest thing they can do for someone. You know, I have a brother-in-law who's a high D personality. He does what he wants and how he wants. And when I first met him, I couldn't imagine him being kind. But my husband told me he would give you the shirt off his back and complain about it the entire time. I thought that was really weird when I heard it, but as I've gotten to know this man, I've learned a few things about him. First off, he loves to tease people. And when my oldest child was 3 years old, he was terrified of this man because he also has some hearing loss and he talks very loudly. And when my son was a toddler, every time my brother-in-law talked, my son would cry because he got scared. But as he got older, he would run and hide or jump in my arms instead. So when he was 3 years old, we told my son there was one thing that my brother-in-law was terribly afraid of, and that was kisses. And my son was like, "Really?" And we assured him that was the truth. So the next time he was loud and teasing my son told him, "If you don't stop, I'm going to kiss you." My brother-in-law immediately stopped and goes, "What did you say?" And my son told him, "I'm going to kiss you." And my brother-in-law looks at him, hands on hips, and goes, "You better not." And he started to back away, which obviously emboldened my son. And long story short, my 3-year-old, in air quotes, chased his uncle out of the house with kissing noises. And it became this running theme with my brother-in-law and all of my children, actually, as each one told the secret to the next one. And everybody loved it. For some people, I know that seems like a weird way to show kindness, but I will be forever grateful for how my brother-in-law kept teasing my kids, but also empowered them to tease him back and empowered them to have fun at his expense. Now, as far as problem solving, this man is even more interesting. You see, my brother-in-law has operated large equipment his entire life. And one day we found out that we had a water leak. Where we lived at the time, we had to do, or we still have to do it, but we have to do the excavation work before the waterworks will come out and fix the problem. So obviously we called my brother-in-law because he had the equipment to do it. He showed up a couple of days later to dig up a flower bed in front of our house where the pipe was that was leaking. He barely spoke to me and was there probably less than an hour, but he dug that hole exactly where it needed to be and off he went. After the repair, he came back and he filled the hole in. And guess what? I had creeping phlox planted in that flower bed, and he replanted them exactly where he dug them up. Was it perfect? No, because some of the phlox around the edge had died, but because it was creeping phlox, it filled in the next season. And I was both impressed and delighted. Understand that he did this with a backhoe and, one of those really big scoops without me ever asking him to do it. To this day, I'm impressed with the precision of him replanting my flowers. And I knew better than to gush over him because these are not people. The driven people are not people that you want to gush over. But it is helpful to acknowledge them. If you thank them directly, make it short and sweet. And when I thanked my brother-in-law directly, I said, "Thanks, I appreciate it." That was it. Any more, and he would have given me the stink eye. If you have a D person in your life, you'll know what that stink eye is. The other thing I did, though, was to brag about him to other people, sometimes when he was around and sometimes when he wasn't. I probably told a dozen people about the skill that he showed. And I meant every word of what I said, and I'm sure it got back to him, so mission accomplished. Counter to the D personality, who wants to keep the kindness transactional, with the I personality, they show kindness through fun and connection. Now, there was some fun and connection with my brother-in-law, but with an I person, if you bring a problem to them, they're likely going to share a story of how they've been through something similar, so you know that they're listening and they understand what you're going through. Now, like the D personality, they want to move through the problem as quickly as possible, but for different reasons. The D personality wants to move on quickly because they have stuff to do. So they want to check off helping you and move on to the next thing. The I personality wants to move on because for them, life is too short to be unhappy for too long. When inspired personalities are sad, they look to break out of that as quickly as possible, like the D personality. But while a D personality has a quick cry or an angry outburst, and then they're fine once they release the emotion, the I personality is more likely to have a very big cry and a longer emotional outburst, not in anger, but just maybe frustration. And they generally have a longer recovery time until they feel better. Now, some people see that as being overly dramatic, but for the emotional I personality, it's the necessary amount of emotional drama for them to process things fully and be able to move on. For them, allowing someone to express their feelings, as long as they aren't being unkind or cruel to someone else, is the greatest gift they can allow somebody. Then, when it's over, they'll take you for ice cream. They'll take you for a trip to the park, a movie, or whatever fun thing you want to do. And if none of that works for you, they may offer to leave you alone to recover if you need the space to do that. That doesn't mean they don't care. It means that the I person knows from experience that some people are not ready to cheer up as quickly as they are. And if they're in balance, they don't take that personally. But they also won't curtail their life to wait for others to process their pain either. Can others view that as not caring? Yes, because they wouldn't behave the same way. But I'm here to tell you, if something like this happens with an I personality, it truly isn't because they don't care. It's because they're doing their best to honor themselves and you at the same time. Moving on to the S personality. This is the personality type that most people think of when they think of kindness, because these are gentle souls who are generally reliable, supportive, and excellent listeners. They are the people others talk about who sit in the muck with you and don't say a word. And that quiet gesture and presence is a balm for some souls. But it can be seen by others as being disinterested because they're not actively helping you to solve the problem. But that's not what the supportive person's superpower is. Their superpower is listening. So if you need to vent, this is your person. They will listen and empathize with how you're feeling. And their hope is that by listening, they'll help you find your own solution without them having to add to it. Oh, and they're not going to be challenging you either because they dislike confrontation. We could even say just detest confrontation. So if you're looking for someone to verbally hash things out with, you need to try someone else because they will not engage in that manner. One other thing that supportive personality types do is listen to both sides of an issue. Not to pick sides, but to understand both sides. And even if they agree with one side more than the other, they very seldom share which side they're on because they just want everyone to be nice and quiet and calm and get along. And while they are fully aware that's not how life is, that's the dream for them. So if you want to show an S personality kindness, let them have their neutrality as much as possible. And if you are an S personality, cherish those who do not make you take sides. Now, when it comes to the C personality, are lovers of accuracy and precision. They show kindness through deep thoughtfulness, facts, and attention to detail. Like the D personality, cautious personalities go straight to solving the problem, but they won't share the solution unless they feel it's the right thing to do. They will also deconstruct every part of a situation and will call you out on things they see, not to criticize you, but to truly show you where you could be or do better. It's important to note, though, that when the C personality experiences the same level of scrutiny, they may react poorly if they're out of balance, because criticism is more cutting to the C personality than anyone. Why? Because if a C personality has taken the time to help you find a solution to a problem and they've given you advice, I assure you that they have thought about every scenario and come up with the best plan based on what their extensive fact finding and multiple scenario run throughs in their head tell them. If any of the variables change, it's back to the drawing board for the C personality so that they can create a new and better plan, because there's always a new and better plan. So questioning their data is a personal affront. Just don't do it. You can add to it, but if you've given them the data and they've used it, they have used it very carefully, I promise you. To be kind to the C personality, be clear about what you want to know. If you are a C personality, please understand that while you are amazing at running scenarios and gathering data, not everyone is interested in the amount of data you have to offer. And the kindest thing you can do sometimes is to give your summarized knowledge with the offer to provide more information if someone wants it. Simple as that. Now, before we wrap up today's episode, I want to challenge you to do something over the next several days and weeks. Watch how your friends, family members, or colleagues show kindness based on their disc personality type. Notice any misinterpretations that may arise, and use your newfound knowledge to bridge those gaps wherever you can with understanding and love. So, what should you do next? Go to the Moving Toward Better homepage, join our email community, because there's so many wonderful things coming, and you're not going to want to miss them. Sign up and find out what they are. Love you all. See you next time. At Moving Toward Better, it's our mission to help you unlock a fantastic life, powered by what's unique and authentically you. To learn how we can help you in your quest, head over to movingtowardbetter.com to check it out, or use the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening, thanks for being you, and have a great day. Love you all.